One cold evening, two starving boys appeared at his doorstep. Their faces, uncannily familiar. Their eyes, identical to his. And their plea? Our mom is sick. We haven't eaten since yesterday. What started as an act of compassion quickly unraveled into something no one expected, not even William himself. These children weren't just strangers in need. They held a secret buried 7 years ago. A secret that could dismantle everything he thought he knew about love, legacy, and betrayal. But who hid the truth from him for so long? Why did their mother never say a word? And when the media uncovers it all, will he fight for the family he never knew he had? Or protect the empire he built alone? Stay with us, because what you're about to witness is not just a story, it's a revelation. And it all began with a knock at the door. The wind howled through the tree-lined streets of Brookdale Heights, Massachusetts, sending gold and crimson leaves swirling across pristine driveways. Behind the wrought iron gates of a vast estate, the Carter mansion loomed under a steel-gray sky, cold and quiet as ever. Inside, Will Carter sat alone in his wood-paneled study, staring blankly at the untouched glass of bourbon in his hand. His wealth, built on years of dominance in East Coast real estate, had given him everything but what he wanted most: a child, a legacy, a family to share the silence with. 2 years ago, he buried his wife Sarah, along with the dreams they'd built in a now dusty nursery upstairs. Since then, the house had become a mausoleum. Staff came and went like shadows. No laughter, no footsteps. No one called his name anymore. But tonight, someone would. The doorbell rang, an unexpected chime that echoed like thunder in the hollow mansion. Will frowned. No one visited unannounced. His longtime butler, Mr. Harrison, appeared in the doorway. "Sir, there are children at the door." Will's brow creased. "Children?" "Yes, sir. 2 boys. They're asking for food." What would 2 children be doing in this neighborhood, alone at dusk? Will stood slowly, unease prickling the back of his neck. As he opened the door, the air hit him sharp and cold, but not nearly as cold as the shock that followed. 2 boys, no older than 6, stood huddled together. Their clothes were threadbare, shoes scuffed, eyes wide with fear, and something deeper. Hope. "Excuse me, sir," the taller one began, voice shaking but brave. "Our mom is really sick. We haven't eaten since yesterday. Could you spare anything?" Will froze. The boys had eyes like polished sapphire. His eyes. Same jawline. Same sharp cheekbones. Same tilt of the chin. And when the shorter one, obviously the younger twin, shrank behind his brother, Will noticed it again. The same protective stance he once had with his own younger sibling long ago. Was this coincidence? Or fate knocking? Twice. "Come inside," he heard himself say, voice distant. The boys stepped cautiously into the grand foyer. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead. Marble floors echoed beneath their small sneakers. The mansion, vast and cold for years, suddenly felt too small to hold the weight of the questions rising in Will's chest. "Mr. Harrison," Will said, eyes still on the boys, "please ask Mrs. Brooks to prepare something warm for our guests." "Right away, sir," the butler replied, barely masking his astonishment. In 2 years, Will had not allowed a single guest beyond the threshold. And now, 2 ragged children were being treated like royalty. The boys perched awkwardly on the edge of a velvet sofa in the parlor, their small frames swallowed by its size. They glanced around, eyes flicking between priceless artwork and looming silence. "Your home's really big," the older boy, Jacob, observed. "Like a castle," the younger, Noah, whispered. Will gave a faint smile. "Feels too big most days." That admission surprised even him. He hadn't spoken candidly to anyone in months. "Do you live here alone?" Jacob asked, with a child's bluntness. "Yes," Will replied. "Just me and the staff. My wife, she passed away 2 years ago." Noah's voice came quietly. "Our grandma died last year. Our mom says she's watching us from heaven now," Jacob added, eyes soft. Will studied their faces again. Was it only resemblance he saw, or recognition? "Your mother, she's sick," he asked gently. Jacob nodded. "She hasn't eaten in 3 days so we could finish the bread. She says she's fine, but she can't get out of bed." She gave us her food, Noah added, his small voice thick with worry. Will felt something twist inside him. It wasn't pity, it was something older, deeper. A longing he thought had died with Sarah. Dinner was served in a modest corner of the vast dining room. Mrs. Linda Brooks, his long-serving housekeeper, had prepared roast chicken, mashed potatoes, and warm rolls. The boys, though clearly starving, ate politely, using proper napkins and forks. Your mother taught you well, Will noted. Mom says manners don't cost anything, Jacob said proudly. She used to work in an office before, Noah added. Now she cleans houses. Sometimes answers phones at night. Where did she work? Will asked casually, heart already beating faster. Jacob shrugged. Different places, now just the grocery store. What's her name? Will asked, voice low. Emily Thompson, Jacob said. The name hit him like lightning. Emily. Emily Thompson, his former assistant, the woman he'd shared a brief but powerful connection with, 7 years ago, just before he met Sarah. Could it be? Was this real? Was it possible the life he thought he'd never have had been knocking at his door all along? I'm sorry we have to pause the story here, but trust me, the journey ahead is one you won't want to miss. Now let me ask you two things. If two children who looked exactly like you showed up at your door, would you believe it was fate or fear it was a trap? Do you think Will Carter should confront the past or protect the present and walk away? And where are you watching from today? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to know. If this story stirred something in your heart, please like, drop a heart, and share it with someone who believes family can begin in the most unexpected ways. That night, after Jacob and Noah had fallen asleep on the plush guest room beds, William Carter sat alone in his study. The fireplace crackled behind him, but its warmth never reached the chill running through his chest. He couldn't shake it. The look in Jacob's eyes, the way Noah tilted his head just like he used to as a boy. It wasn't just similarity. It was something deeper, instinctive, blood deep. Could he be their father? His mind raced backward. Emily Thompson. 7 years ago, she was sharp, kind, quietly brilliant. They had a brief relationship, short-lived, intense, meaningful. Then she left abruptly. No explanation, just a resignation letter and a silence he never questioned. Until now. He rose from his chair and moved to the filing cabinet tucked behind a bookcase, where he kept records long untouched. Pulling out the thick binder of former employee files, he flipped through until he reached her name. Emily K. Thompson. A file in pristine condition. Her evaluations, glowing. Her resignation letter, formally worded, handwritten. But something else caught his eye. An unopened envelope, tucked at the back of the folder. It was addressed to him. His heart began to pound. He broke the seal with trembling fingers and unfolded the single sheet inside. The handwriting was unmistakably hers. Will, I tried to tell you, but you were so busy after the gala, and now you've met someone new, and I see the joy in your eyes. I'm pregnant. 8 weeks. I won't ask anything of you. I know how much you value your reputation and your future. I'll raise the child on my own. You don't need to respond. Just know. This wasn't planned, but I don't regret it. Emily Will's legs gave out beneath him. He sank into the chair, the letter trembling in his hands. She had tried to tell him. He never knew. He never got the chance to choose. But how? Why hadn't he seen this? Unless... He buzzed the intercom. Mr. Harrison, who handled my correspondence 7 years ago? There was a pause. Sir, that would have been Mr. Whitman, Charles Whitman. His attorney, his oldest friend, the man who always protected him. Was it possible? Had Charles hidden this letter on purpose? And if so, what else had he done? The next morning, Will asked Mrs. Brooks to look after the boys while he visited Brookdale General Hospital. He needed answers, and there was only one person who could give them. Emily. She was asleep when he arrived. Pale, fragile, her chest rising and falling under oxygen tubes. Dr. Scott stood beside her chart. Severe pneumonia, the doctor explained. If you hadn't stepped in when you did, I'm not sure she'd be alive today. Will felt the guilt settle deeper into his spine. How could a woman who once worked just outside his office now be fighting for her life? Alone, in poverty, with 2 boys she'd raised with grace. She'll recover, Dr. Scott added, but she'll need time. Weeks, maybe more. Will looked through the small glass window at the woman sleeping behind it. 7 years apart, and still she looked exactly as he remembered. When he returned home that evening, Jacob was waiting. "Mr. Carter," the boy said quietly, "is our mom going to be okay?" Will knelt beside him. "She's in good hands. She's safe now." Do you think we can stay here until she's better?" Noah asked, peeking out from behind his brother. Will's throat tightened. "As long as you need." The days that followed were unlike anything Will had known. For the first time in years, the house felt alive. He found Jacob sitting in the library, reading an encyclopedia on airplanes. Will joined him, and soon they were sketching blueprints together on a napkin. He caught Noah one night arranging toy animals by height in the hallway. "I like putting them in lines," the boy explained. "It makes things feel less messy." Will smiled. "I used to do the same thing, with chess pieces." "Will you teach me?" Noah asked. That was the moment Will knew. This wasn't temporary. This wasn't a gesture. This was fatherhood, knocking softly at his door. But just as he began to imagine what a future with them might look like, a dark cloud loomed on the horizon, because somewhere in a sleek downtown office, Charles Whitman was learning that the twins had surfaced, and his carefully kept secret was about to explode. What do you think he'll do next? Will Charles step in to stop Will from claiming the truth? Or will he let the past unravel and destroy them all? We'll find out in the next part, but I'm sorry to pause here. I hope you understand. Let me ask you 2 things. If you were in Will's shoes, would you confront Charles immediately, or wait for more proof? Do you think Emily was right to raise the boys alone? Or should she have tried harder to contact Will again? Tell us in the comments. And where are you watching this story from? We'd love to hear from every corner of the world. If this chapter moved you, please like, drop a heart, and share it with someone who believes family is more than just blood. It's action. 3 days later, the storm broke. It began with a headline splashed across every major news outlet. "Real estate tycoon William Carter, hiding secret family?" There beneath the title were photos of Jacob and Noah playing in the Carter estate's garden, a grainy image of Emily leaving Brookdale General Hospital, an older picture of Will at a gala 7 years ago, standing beside her. The press had gotten wind of everything. Back at the mansion, Mrs. Brooks rushed into the dining room with the morning paper in hand. Will stared at the front page, the coffee cup frozen in his grip. The worst part? He already knew who had leaked it. Charles Whitman, Will's former lawyer and longtime protector, the man who had buried Emily's letter. And now, he was retaliating, swiftly, viciously. By noon, Will's phone was blowing up with calls from board members, investors, even old acquaintances demanding explanations. The stock of Carter and Wells real estate dropped 4 points in a single day. And worse, Emily was spiraling. Still recovering at the mansion, she stared blankly at the screen when the scandal reached her. Her hands trembled as she shut it off. "I told you this would happen," she whispered. "They'll turn the boys into headlines." "They already have," Will replied, his voice low, "but I'm not letting them control this." Later that evening, Will stood before his legal team in the study. "Whitman has filed an injunction," one lawyer explained. "He's arguing that you're emotionally unstable after Sarah's death and unfit to make decisions involving children. He's also petitioning the court to prevent you from legally recognizing Jacob and Noah," another added, "until a full psychological evaluation is completed." Will's jaw clenched. "And what's the strategy?" "We fight it," the lead attorney said. "But we need undeniable evidence to prove Emily never intended to deceive you." That's when Emily's old friend, Jessica Collins, stepped forward from the hallway. "I have something you might want to see," she said quietly. She handed over a sealed envelope. Inside were email exchanges, printed HR memos, and a recording, one that sent chills down Will's spine. It was Charles's voice. "If you don't leave quietly, we'll ruin you, Jennifer. No job, no references. We'll say you violated policy. Don't contact Will. He's moved on." The room went silent. Now everything made sense. The resignation, The letter never delivered. The lost years. It hadn't been her choice. The very next morning, Will's attorneys filed a formal counteraction, attaching the evidence Jessica provided. At the emergency board hearing that Charles himself had called to question Will's mental state, he was publicly exposed. One by one, his allies turned their backs. By the end of the day, Charles Whitman was stripped of his legal license and escorted out of the building. His career, over. But what about Jacob and Noah? The following week, in a private courtroom chamber lined with warm mahogany, William Carter knelt in front of the two boys he now knew without a shadow of doubt were his sons. He smiled gently and held up two envelopes. "These," he said, "are your new birth certificates. We've made it official. Your names are now Jacob Thompson Carter and Noah Thompson Carter." The boys looked at each other, eyes wide. "You kept Thompson," Noah whispered. Will turned to Emily, who sat nearby, her eyes misty. "Because your mother is a part of your identity, a beautiful part." Later, as they stepped outside into the autumn sun, reporters lined the courthouse steps again. This time, it wasn't a scandal they captured, but a family hand in hand, stepping into the light. Back at the mansion, the boys sprinted across the lawn. Will and Emily watched from the veranda, the tension of the past few weeks finally beginning to lift. "Do you think we'll ever be normal?" she asked softly. Will shook his head, smiling. "No, we'll be better than normal. We'll be real." That night, Jacob and Noah crept downstairs after bedtime, finding Will in the library. "Dad," Jacob said, the words still new but now natural, "can we visit her grave tomorrow?" "Whose?" Will asked, turning. "Sarah's," Noah said. "We want to leave flowers." Will's breath caught. "Why?" Jacob looked up at him with eyes so much like his own. "Because if she hadn't taught you how to love, you might never have opened the door." And there it was, the final piece. Not revenge, not regret, but peace. This story began with a knock in the cold and ends with a door that will never close again. I'm sorry for pausing the story here, but now it's your turn to reflect. Let me ask you two questions. Do you believe William Carter would have found his sons without that letter? Or was it fate that brought them to his door? Should Emily forgive Will completely, or are some wounds too deep to heal so quickly? Tell us your thoughts in the comments. What country are you watching this story from? And if this story touched you, please like, drop a heart, and share it with someone who believes in second chances, forgiveness, and the family we choose, and the ones that find us. If you love this story, comment 3. If it felt just okay, type 2. If you think it still needs work, type 1. We'd love your honest feedback. Thank you for joining us.